On this episode of my so-called podcast, we're taking you back to August 26th, 1994.
To discuss the Toadies' Rubberneck and Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers.
Hey, welcome to my so-called podcast. It's me, Eric Spiegel.
And I'm Gary Linton.
And we are here to take you back to the 90s, dog.
That's what we do. We go back to a week in the 90s. We look at an album and a movie that were released roughly the same week.
And this week,
Yep.
they were.
Yeah, the same week. You're right.
Same ass
Pretty
week.
good stuff.
Do we have a guest?
Mm-hmm. Why, we do have a guest, Eric.
Come
That's good
in.
Foley work. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody.
Third time on the podcast, man?
Third, yes, if you count the year-end special last year. Yes.
I'm counting.
I do.
I'm also counting
I'm
it.
still a
Yes.
guest, yes.
Yep.
Certainly do.
Yes, this is the third time on the podcast.
And
So
welcome back,
I
Matt.
was about to say, thank you for having me back.
What the hell happened August 26th, 1994?
August 26, 1994, the world was... Oliver Stone gave man birth to a film called Natural Born Killers.
Mm-hmm.
But earlier in the week, there was an album released by a band called the Toadies, or Toadies,
Toadies.
me, not the Toadies, called Rubberneck. That's
Nice.
what happened.
And so, since you're a guest, we're to assume that you've picked these pieces of pop culture from 20 plus years ago. Is that true?
Yes, indeed. Yes, I'm. Well, we'll get into it a little bit, but yes, I'm a fan of both. At least I'm definitely a fan of the album. The film, we'll talk about.
So you stuck your heels in on the Toadies, and you were like, "What else came out this week?" Then you came with NBK.
And it turns out that Natural Born Killers, and you say, "Hey, that's something we can talk about."
That's a combo.
That's
You
a-
know
that's
what
a
would be
combo.
fun? If you could see the Toadies, or Toadies, if you will, live this year somehow.
You know what? That would be fantastic. Hey, didn't we do that though?
To be continued.
All right. And so to get the listener in the 90s mood, we like to set the tone by doing some trivia questions, taking you back to what was going on in the world in the week of not the week of, it'd just be the year 1994 is where these trivia questions are.
That's right. And did you want to know the score, Gary?
You know I don't.
I'm winning. I have 10.
Yeah.
You have 6.
That's why I didn't want to know the score.
Whenever whomever
Uh-huh.
gets to 20,
Yeah.
they owe the other person a steak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Matt, do you understand why?
A steak, like as in a food steak.
A meat.
Well,
yeah, a meat
well-
steak.
What we are to understand is that the audience is more interested if there's stakes.
Okay, sure.
So we're playing for literal
Literally playing for stakes. Okay. The stakes are high.
So the way it works with the guest is
I don't think we get them high before we eat the steaks.
no.
So-
But the cow
The cow was
did
blazing.
it was roasted.
It was lit.
So anyway, the way it works with the guest is you are a constant phone a friend. So you can either help everybody, hurt everybody, or pick somebody that you want to hurt or help. You are on both teams, or are you?
Or neither team.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Eric, this card. That's fine. It's fine. Eric, it's fine.
It's fine.
All right.
Gary,
Eric picks the cards.
Doing okay?
No, Eric picks the cards.
You want to switch cards?
No. Here you go. I'm going to ask you a question. What U.S. state's lucky voters got to pull the lever or lever? Your choice.
Lever.
For Howard Stern
2000.
for a governor.
That'd be New York State.
Oh, that's correct. Okay.
I was right.
That was a sad bill.
What sports tune was recorded 250 different ways for a Ken Burns documentary?
Oh, Matt. I'm going to throw it to you. Your guess. You have a guess?
I'd have a guess. Yeah, certainly.
It's
a pretty educated guess.
Yeah, we're talking baseball.
I'm going to say yes, and I would suggest Take Me Out to the Ball.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that. Nice.
That is correct.
Let's keep it on baseball, Eric. All right?
Yeah, let's keep it on baseball.
Yeah. Who was baseball's...
Baseball in St. Louis.
Okay. You done? Okay. Who was baseball's acting commissioner during the infamous 1994-1995 strike?
I'm going to go with Phil Rizzuto.
Do you want phone a friend?
Phone a friend! Oh, yeah.
I believe it was Bud Selig.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Selig.
Yeah, that's a good call. All right.
That's right. Thank you.
He graduated from Juilliard. That's why he was the acting commissioner.
That's what I was
Actually,
thinking.
he was the acting commissioner because he was also the owner of the Milwaukee Brewers at the time, so they can't really. And then
thanks for ruining my acting joke, Matt.
I was thinking more. He was the acting commissioner because he was using the method to figure out that.
Yeah, exactly.
Strike.
Strike.
Oh, I'm trying to imagine that time in elementary school when everyone was on strike.
He was like, Stella, don't go on strike.
He was like, Dustin Hoffman, keep it in your pants.
Don't keep your hands to yourself. Because I don't think he ever took it out of his pants.
Right, he's handsy.
He's handsy.
Yeah. So handsy. Yikes. Yikes. Hey, Gary.
Yeah, that's me name.
What sports equipment did Jack Nicholson use on the windshield of the car that cut him off?
What do you think, Matt? I'm going to go golf club, but I don't.
You're correct.
Okay.
It's a golf club.
Golf club. Let's go golf club.
So your answer is a golf club?
Yeah. Do I need to be more specific?
Oh,
look at that!
I believe, because I remember reading something about this. I believe it was a 7-iron.
Oh,
I think I might be wrong.
According to this non-branded trivia card of whoever knows.
Yeah, right.
There wouldn't be three baseball related questions in a row. That's the other thing too, right?
Yeah.
A golf club
Is all it was. So it wasn't an iron because it was a club.
Okay.
I don't know.
Whatever, nerd.
Yeah, thanks. What cinema smash hit did cynical critics call Die Hard on a Bus? That's what cynical critics sound like. Die Hard on a Bus!
I feel like that was the pitch for this movie. And
let's get
the
off of
cynical
baseball,
critics.
okay? Let's stop talking about baseball. You and your pitches.
Whoa. It's Speed.
I didn't even tell you if you were right yet. You were right.
Every time I hear about Speed or something about Speed, I think of the Eddie Izzard joke where he said Speed. He goes, that was Speed in French. He did this whole big bit where it's Speed in French, and he goes Speed, which is supposed to be la vitesse in French, but he goes instead it was just called Speed. And I thought that was funny.
I'm sure the way Eddie does it.
Yes.
No.
Yes, actually, that's okay. Fair enough.
Hey, Gary,
yeah.
he's one of our...
You're right. I should not be...
He's a guest on the program.
I heard somewhere, maybe, or did I read it, that I think most French movies just keep the English title.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. It's called Le cinquième élément.
Okay. I took
Fifth element, yeah.
Come on, dog. So that was, you got all three.
And I got all three.
I said,
you got all
okay, three. Nice.
So we're 13 to 9.
All right.
How about that thing that just happened?
That happened. That was a thing. All right, now we want to talk about which singles. Singles, Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never know. You always keep me guessing on my toes.
Yeah. That's my job.
All right, these were the singles that were shooting up the charts when Toadies were like, you know what? We need to release Rubberneck.
We will compete with these songs in this same market.
By releasing this
Toadies.
album. Number 10, Stroke You Up by Changing Faces. That's
the bastion of subtlety was pop R&B in the 90s.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
I think it was last episode whenever we had the boner song.
Number 9 that week was When Can I See You by Babyface.
Oh, that's nice. I bet that song has snaps in it.
You know it does. Has Babyface ever released this song?
I can't see you.
Number 8 was Functified by Da Brat from Chicago. Da Brat.
Da Brat.
Da Brat. Number 7, Don't Turn Around by Ace of Base.
Ace of Base.
Don't turn around. Just because someone heartbreaking. Don't turn around.
I always feel like Ace of Base had way too many hits than they were supposed to have.
Yeah, well, it was all off that same album. That was a crazy hit album.
I'm just realizing that it's BASE. You know, I think I knew that, but...
Well, they were big baseball fans.
Exactly.
Baseball fans, yes.
Not BASS. They should be Ace of Base. Because they slapping the bass, man.
A slap on the bass. A slap on the bass.
Number 6, Can You Feel the Love Tonight by Elton John. Sir Elton John.
Oh, that's still from June when The Lion King came out. Weird.
And that was what number?
That was number 6.
You feel the love tonight.
I like all these questions. When can I
This
see
is
you?
where
Can you feel love?
we are.
Number 5 is I Swear by All For One.
By the moon.
Can we go back to the questions? Is
stars
Stroke You Up a question?
Yeah, that was also a question.
Stroke You Up?
Stroke You Up?
I
Functified?
by the moon and the stars.
Number 4 is Wild Night by John Cougar Mellencamp. No,
And Michelle Ndege Ocello.
Nindege
A
Ocello.
remake of the Van Morrison song.
Yeah.
He's not John Cougar Mellencamp.
No, he's just
John
Johnny
Mellencamp.
Cougar
Yeah.
is what I
John
call him.
There was a Weird Al Yankovic joke where he's like, John Cougar Mellencamp Finkelstein. And then he goes back to John Mellencamp, and then he's just going to be J. Yeah. Yeah, don't try to improve Weird Al's jokes.
Okay.
Alright, number 3 is Fantastic Voyage by Coolio.
Slide, slippity slide. And it's something sick.
It was from a single, or no, Clueless. It was in the Clueless movie. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think Dangerous Minds was around this time. Or was that like a year later?
No, Dangerous Minds was a little bit later.
Yeah, because I think this was Coolio before.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Stay by Lisa Loeb and 9 Stories. Video directed by Ethan Hawke.
You say I've got really cool glasses.
Yeah.
Can you be right?
Number
I don't care.
Can
I
you
don't
be
care what
right?
anybody says. I think that's a great song.
Yeah. Well, people are saying it's not a great song. But you don't care about that.
But I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care.
Number 1.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a good song. I agree. Number 1, I'll Make Love to You by Boys to Men. They say they're going to tell you. They're going to I'll make love to you.
Right. Like you want me to. But, like, how do they really know?
Exactly.
Do they really know?
It's like, I want you to make love to me by doing those dishes. Am I right, ladies? Yeah, thank you.
I mean, he said that out loud.
I did.
All right. So, We like to ask an either-or question of our guest if they don't come up with their own either-or question, which you haven't.
Yes, I'm unprepared today.
So, Matt, the Toadies, or
Toadies,
small case Toadies, lowercase Toadies, burst onto the scene with their debut album, Rubberneck. Either this album fit into the paradigm of rock that existed at the time, or it shook things up a bit.
I will go with I'll actually go with the former on this one. It fit. I think it fit. I don't think it really shook things up a little bit. It was pretty much just a straight rock record.
Okay.
And but that's not to say it's not good, in my opinion.
Well, that's true. But so you think this is similar to who was rocking things at the time? Like who?
Well,
would you
okay,
say?
So you can't go with what was on those charts.
Okay, so yes and no. All right, so I guess there's arguments either way to this as far as whether or not
that's a good either or.
There's no better definition of either or, right? You could. I think for the most part, it's not really that. It's not a risky album to make, especially within the context of rock and roll. I mean, when you go against the singles that it was up against when it was released,
yeah.
I mean, there's not a whole lot of mainstream alternative rock and roll being put out there. But on the flip side, these are dudes from Texas. Actually, I should say three dudes and a lady from Texas.
Back then, now not so much, right?
And
they're not from Texas anymore?
No, they're still from Texas.
There's
There's no longer a lady bassist anymore. But you have that, and this is what, in my opinion, kind of makes the Toadies just slightly more unique than other bands, is that they have that kind of weird rockabilly sense to their to what you hear.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was getting at, is that I don't know who else was rocking this particular vibe at the time. There was a lot of grunge happening, and there was the beginnings of pseudo-poser grunge, whether you like it or not. I'm talking about Bush.
Yeah.
And this was not that. I mean, it was not the out-of-tune bar chords Nirvana ripoff thing. It had, like you said, rockabilly sort of sensibility, which didn't not fit with what was going on.
But it wasn't.
And I wasn't oh, this is the Stray Cat strut all of a sudden. I didn't think it was weird, but it is different. They don't have too many contemporaries that you could say sound like the Toadies.
No, yeah, the only other band I could think of that was also hanging out in Dallas, Texas around the same time, Trippin' Daisy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they have sort of a rockabilly sound?
No, I guess they kind of...
And then, so later, the guys, because Toadies went on hiatus for a little while, but later they got, the lead singer of the Toadies got together with a bunch of guys from the Reverend Horton Heat.
Oh, that makes sense.
And they had a band for a little while and their two albums that they put out are very good. It
was called Toads in Heat.
It's the Reverend Toadstool.
They were called the Burden Brothers.
They were called Princess Peach and the Toad Heat.
Which is funny because if Reverend Horton Heat and Toadies are kind of in that same kind of weird Texas rock.
Yeah.
That you want to say that band sounds exactly like a perfect blend of what you think the Toadies mixed with Reverend Horton Heat would sound like.
That sounds good.
It's good. It's very good.
I think of the Refreshments from a couple of years later. They had sort of a country rockin', sort of a country fried rockin' alternate groove.
Right, but are you trying to make the point is that this is really kind of the start of that movement towards that kind of weird, unique, not really weird or unique, but just sort of just slightly not center.
Well, it's
straightforward.
It's definitely Texas And I think it's clear that it's not aping that Seattle grunge sound.
No, yeah, they're doing
but
their
it's
own
sort of
thing.
slid into the point, or that, you know, alternative rock radio without any of us really batting an eye. But looking back on it now and listening to this whole album all the way through, like, it really didn't sound like much else at the time. Really, they don't have a whole lot of contemporaries that sound a lot like them.
No.
And it's weird how we were all like, yeah, this should be on the radio with Bush and Nirvana and Pearl Jam. And
Especially
But it
the
doesn't sound
content
like
of
Bush.
Possum Kingdom.
Well,
Which we can, that's
That was a huge hit.
it was huge.
It was huge. It was literally huge.
But it's funny that you mentioned. But to me, it's funny that you mentioned Bush because in the
I also
fall of '94, they were on tour with Bush. They
Right.
were they were an opening act. It was, and I don't know if were you at that show, because this is when we were in high school.
Yeah, my mom
It
wouldn't
was-
allow me to go out on weeknights.
I didn't go. I remember being very upset that I
I
wasn't
remember
going
Jeff
to the show. but
Morris,
a number of our
Jeff,
friends,
Jason
right?
Davis,
A number of
Matt
our friends went
Stanky.
to go see
They
the
all
show.
came back the next day with their Bush concert T-shirts on, and I was like, "Yeah, that's great, guys.
Yeah,
I
it's-
think your guys are cool too."
Bummer I couldn't go.
Yeah.
But no, it was
last
Bush.
night's episode of Frasier was lit.
Yeah.
But if you think
Yeah, it
about,
was.
so you talk about that it didn't really fit in with Bush yet. They were on tour with Bush, and then the other band that was on that bill was Hum.
Oh,
So you
nice.
have Hum, which is their unique and kind of not quite. It's almost like you have Bush, which is that center band, and then you have Toadies, which is that sort of right center band, and then you have Hum, which is that
Where did
left
they
center
play?
band.
Did they play the Galaxy? Or the
I think it
American?
was at the Galaxy.
Maybe
Oh no, it was
American.
the American Theater. Yeah,
American
American.
Theater,
Which was the
of
Orpheum
course.
for a while. Yeah, but yes, the American Theater. That's where they played.
Yeah.
And so it was almost like they said that the people who put together this concert was just like, okay, well let's get our good middle of the road band, and let's get our kind of not so ordinary.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, not so ordinary.
I do think that perhaps, though, I don't want to turn it into a referendum on alternative music, but, you know, a lot of different styles of music fit into the quote-unquote alternative music, you know, umbrella. We
Yeah.
had Brit pop, and
yeah.
we had, you know, grunge, and we had some sort of experimental sort of,
Which is why
even
everybody-
trip hop.
Yep.
Which is why everybody had trouble defining what it is. You know, this is one of the questions that, like for example, Nirvana hated hearing was, how would you define your music?
Not
And it's like,
for
does
a
it matter?
really long time
Right.
did they hate it, though.
Yeah.
Not when they were getting that sweet cash.
No, I meant Kurt Cobain didn't hate anything for
Very long, because he was
Oh,
not in
right,
existence
yeah,
for
yeah.
very long.
Sure.
And then Dave Grohl was like, well, I'm going to make another band.
Exactly.
It's a rock band.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Give me your money.
And now they're arguably the biggest rock band on the planet.
Anyway, are we not supposed to talk about the Toadies? Or should we?
We can.
Okay.
We can if you want.
Do you guys like this album? Gary?
Yeah, I enjoyed this album. And I do want to die.
Make up your mind.
Exactly.
Actually, wait until you get behind the boathouse and then...
Yeah, that's right. It's a short album. It's nice and sweet. 36 minutes long. You know, I like them tight albums, not too long.
Yeah.
Overstay their welcome.
Yeah.
Yep.
You get bored.
I'm like, oh my god, I got the attention span of a
Newt.
2-year-old.
Yeah.
It never even dawned on me that's 11 songs at 36 minutes. It's
Yeah.
like, ee.
Well,
But that's great. I mean,
they get it done.
That's
They're
right.
sort of a countrified Ramones. It's like jigga, 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 jigga.
But-
We're done with that song. Jigga, 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 jigga.
But Possum Kingdom's actually kind of a longer song.
That one's slower.
Yeah.
Jigga, 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 jigga. But most of them are like.
yeah. Possum Kingdom and Tyler are pretty much the outliers on that album.
Yeah, the good ones.
And those are the good songs.
And those are the two
but
good
I
ones,
Come
yeah.
From the Water is also a good song.
No,
No, you didn't think
I
so?
don't think so. I'm more of an away
Away.
person, and I like Quitter.
Yeah,
and I
Quitter's a good
like
one.
Tyler and Happy Face. I like I Burn. That's also slow. Dun, 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 dun,
So
dun,
is
dun, dun,
So it's weird they have they have 11 songs at 36 minutes, and like 4 or 5 of them we're talking about how they're nice and slow.
Yeah, but short, apparently.
But short, yeah, slow tempo, but short.
Honestly, I don't listen... So I got this... I might have mentioned this on the podcast before. A friend of mine I was in study hall with, and I can't recall who it was now, was in the BMG or Columbia House, and we went in together on it. So I got 16 Stone by Bush. I got Rubberneck, and then I got Delamitri's album with the that one, Roll to Me.
Yep.
For I think like $15 because it was a part of the Columbia House scam.
Yeah, 3 CDs for 15 is pretty good.
And that was my money, so it was like, wow, I can listen to Tyler and Glycerine whenever I want. And I was thinking about that, like these days kids don't know the joy of owning a song as much as, you know, because like when I could listen to Glycerine and Tyler whenever I felt like it, I felt like I was on top of the world. Anyway, so
say, which we could talk about how, in my opinion, now looking back, how bad of a song "Glycerine" is by Bush, but whatever.
Well, yeah, I could do that all day.
Right. Yeah.
But
that was me in 1990.
Sure, we were all there back then.
But whenever I thought about Rubberneck, I was like, well, I love Tyler and I love Possum Kingdom. I remember liking Away a lot, but I think there's a lot of filler. No Killer.
Yeah, okay.
And then I listened to it all the way through, and I feel like you could make an argument that there's nothing wrong with any of these songs.
Yeah, they're all... That's a solid album.
I mean, the only real true skipper, I think, might be Velvet. And if you can make an argument for skipping Mexican Hairless if you wanted
the lead
to.
track.
Yeah, which is very
but it's
poor.
nothing. It's nothing.
It's just like, no lyrics. Here we are, we're the Toadies. Which is it's
almost like I always, every time I listen to this album, I always see that as sort of the almost like they're playing a live show and this is their intro song.
It's like, let's go out to the movies,
basically.
Yeah,
and and by my metric of what kind of, to me, what makes a good album is, can I listen to the whole thing without having to skip a single song? And this is one of those albums that I can listen to the whole thing and not skip a song, and I'm good.
Yeah, and I think that over the past few days, I kind of do agree with that. I can skip some songs.
Yeah, it's easy to do.
If
you just hit
I'm
that arrow,
interested in
and it
doing
goes,
so.
It'll skip it. It'll do it.
But I don't need to.
Well, it's only 36 minutes. I mean, if you
right.
I mean, I do think you're only like, well, I have to do this in another 20 minutes or whatever.
I mean, if you really, I want to go. I want to be a little stickler there. I would say maybe it'd be a better album without Velvet.
Yeah. This was their first album, Eric. They're trying to fill it out, get it to 36 minutes.
That's true.
Why they needed Velvet.
But, you know.
Well, it's their first full length. They didn't have an EP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, do you know the backstory of their sophomore effort? It was some sort of contractual thing where it was in hell for a while?
Well, and that's kind of thing. So they had a after Rubberneck, they were in this kind of a record contract, and they put together and they put almost a complete album together, and the powers that be were like, this is not acceptable for us, and so they were in limbo for a while. I don't know if it was like contract disputes or what, but all I know is that it was in limbo. They didn't actually release another album until 2001.
What is that?
That's
So
like
because of
Stone Roses,
because of that, it was 2000. Holborow Stars Above was
Peter
2001.
Gabriel.
Which, by the way, when that
that's
came
his
out,
choice, not the record company.
when Hell Below Stars Above came out, I was like first in line to get that, and I listened to that, and I thought it was great. I'm like, finally, we got some new music.
We've all moved on,
but but that's the thing. Like, we had a joke amongst all of our friends in high school was, "Hey, new Toadies album coming out summer '96." Hey, new Toadies album coming out summer '96, and this is like 1999. Hey, new Toadies album coming out summer '96.
It sucks for them.
It did, and it put a dent in, because they couldn't build on that momentum.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
people loved lot of those songs and loved this album, it was beloved by our group of friends.
It was the soundtrack to our senior year of high school, in my opinion. I mean,
along
for
with
me,
Glycerine.
Well, 16 Stone is a good album by Bush, but that song I can't deal. I just can't.
But it's got 3 bar chords. real slow.
Right. But so I mean, yeah, they I mean, I think the problem was that they couldn't build on that momentum. They could, had they released the album that they were supposed to release, did eventually get released. They went into the studio after releasing a few other albums, and then went, hey, well, now that we're not really under like record label control type of thing, we can go back and actually record that album that we were supposed to do. So they went in and just re-recorded it and released it. And that album's called Feeler. It was released maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. I can't remember the exact date, but they did that, and I listened to that album, and it's like, and I'm kind of like, well, this was going to be your follow up. I really don't think you could have built. It wouldn't have been much of a build up, a build on top of what you had from 1994. I think it's kind of mediocre in my opinion.
Feeler.
Feeler. That was what the album was supposed to be called, and they were just basically like, what it was. I think really they were just doing fan service for people, kind of like, hey, you wanted that, you wanted this album in 1996. Well, here it is in 2014 or whatever.
It's hard to do that. It's hard to do that sophomore
2012.
slump thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been working on these songs for a long time. It's hard to do that second album.
Yeah, it is.
But once again, how it makes it so much harder when your record label is like, well, before it even gets released, they're telling you, well, it's not good.
I know.
So I mean,
talk to Amy Mann about that.
Sure. I would have liked to have been in Dallas in the early 90s. Just going to some early Toadies show, Trippin' Daisy. Old 97s were playing Dallas in the early 90s.
At the same time, you would have to live in Dallas.
That's true. That's right.
I feel like plus minus.
Yeah. There was some good stuff going.
but remember that. I mean,
Butthole
Texas.
servers.
It's I don't necessarily say it would be Dallas. I mean, you could have probably lived in Austin and probably gotten a pretty good.
Yeah. Well, there's still a drive.
You could have moved to Oklahoma and watched some early Flaming Lips stuff.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
No,
Or you could have just stayed in Missouri and shut your pie hole.
is what I did.
What's your favorite song on the album, Gary?
I'm gonna still go with Possum Kingdom. I think.
Matt?
It's a toss up between Possum Kingdom and Tyler.
Oh, well, Tyler is the correct answer.
Oh,
The correct answer is Tyler.
Sorry, guys.
You're all wrong.
sorry.
Everybody else is wrong. This is
Possum Kingdom is a distant second.
I will say
close.
this.
So
I will
close.
say this. I love playing Possum Kingdom. I can play that song. Possum Kingdom. Overall, I could listen to over and over and over again, and I'd be okay with it.
It sounds like that's your favorite.
But well, yes.
So,
But Tyler's the
who's right and who's
But
wrong?
hold on.
now?
But Tyler's the same thing. Like I can listen to that over and over and over.
I
again.
remember in
Still-
high school learning that.
I remember you teaching it.
Those were the
But
days.
that would just the
That's what this
like
podcast
so.
is about.
But I also don't know how much this is a subconscious thing, because a buddy of mine let me borrow his Toadies CD once, and I, not realizing it, like went to sleep one night and had Possum Kingdom just on repeat, and I woke up at 9-10 o'clock the next morning, and Possum Kingdom's still playing. So all night long, all I heard was Possum Kingdom in my head. So
that
it might be a
happened one
subconscious
time
thing.
with me with All Night Long by Lionel Richie.
Oh yeah, oh nice.
weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
But,
weird.
and then I
How
woke
meta
up
is that?
dancing on the ceiling. The weirdest thing.
That
Right.
is strange. That is strange.
Well, and the other thing is the power of nostalgia, which we deal in on this program.
yeah, that's our main milieu.
So,
Yeah.
Gary,
Yes.
and Matt, we have a
Gary.
rating system.
Matt should rate it first.
4 stars would be like one of them poison dart frogs that are really colorful.
Blue poisonous dart
I
frogs.
thought you were going to say something about being like Poison, like the band. I was like,
3 stars would be like Kermit.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
I maybe put him a lot
2
higher.
stars would be like your average bullfrog.
Or Frogger.
And 1 star is Frogger. after he got ran over by something.
Okay.
Matt.
All right, now remind me, are we are against the half-star system? It's
No.
We are totally for any fraction you want to throw.
Oh,
at
okay.
You could do it, yeah.
Honestly, then I put it at just because of the fact that, like you said, there are songs that are skippable, but whether you decide to do that or not, I go 3.5 stars.
Yeah.
3.5 stars. I'm going to go 3 stars.
Yeah, I
Just
give
to
it 3. I give it 3. It lives up to the hype. Toadies Rubberneck. Seek it out. If you haven't listened to it in a while, it's got some good
It's good.
Whoa,
songs
yeah.
songs on there.
It's
You've
good.
got
Try.
Away. That's a good song.
Away's a good song.
I
think
learned that on the
Backslider's a good
guitar.
song.
It's like one of the first
Backslider.
10 songs I learned on the guitar.
Backslider's the first time I was like, wow, this is like, the first time I heard Backslider, I was like, okay, this is a alternative country song. Like,
Yeah.
It's countrified.
Yeah.
Country fried, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like this band.
Functified.
I feel like in retrospect, this band is actually a little cooler. And we didn't say, sidebar. We saw them this summer, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
we
talked
actually
about
we
that.
We
saw
went
them.
to
It was
see them. That was
in-
pretty cool.
Yes, we saw them in Local H.
At the
That was
sidebar?
like-
Did you go to the sidebar?
The Delmar Hall.
yeah.
Mini pageant,
Yeah.
if you want to.
Yeah.
But it was fun. They're cool. They played the hits. They look good.
They didn't mess around. Yeah.
They're not
They were
screwing
tight.
around.
All
Gary.
right, good.
Stop judging us.
Well, I don't think I will.
Okay.
But,
Should we take a break?
yeah, we need to take
It's
a break.
time to take a break.
You got Blue Apron.
Squarespace.
Let's see. Casper Mattress. Mac Weldon. Or, what's the underwear that they always talk about? What's that? Is that Mac Weldon?
MeUndies.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. There's also, if this is a blast from the past, Stack Soap.
I
The
don't.
soap
Yeah, that
that
one.
is convex, so when you have a piece of soap that's little, you can fit it into the convex new soap, and they
Alright.
meld together better. Stack Soap.
Are they still around? They're not.
Oh, probably not.
Nah, yeah, they don't do podcasts anymore.
Yeah. If you join us for the second half of this podcast, we promise that we'll talk about natural born killers.
That is a promise. That is a My So-Called Podcast promise.
Making a promise to you, the listener.
All right.
All right.
Join us, won't you?
Welcome back to My So-Called Podcast. I hope you enjoyed that break. I'm still Gary Linton.
And turns out I'm still Eric Spiegel.
And we still have...
Matt Holborow, I'm still here, I think.
Hey, yeah, you're still here, Matt.
I decided not to leave.
Thanks for staying around.
Please stay. Tell
Okay.
us about them natural born killers.
Oh, that's what we're going to talk about. Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers.
Yay!
'Cause it was released in August 1994. August 26th? Does that sound right?
Yes, 26th.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep.
That is correct.
All right.
Yeah, if you were going to the theater on August 26, 1994, you had yourself some choices.
Okay. You know what? I just want to pause before you get into that and say we just got done talking about the Toadies Possum Kingdom. And sometimes it's great when when these things line up. You know, we just pick random stuff from the week. But you got Possum Kingdom, which they were a Texas band.
Yeah.
And we got this Natural Born Killers, kind of
Well,
Texas.
I mean, Toadie's biggest hit was about a murder behind a
exactly.
boathouse.
Yeah, it's serendipitous
in Southwest America.
Yep. So, but
That's one interpretation. That's one interpretation.
However, you could go see Natural Born Killers if you wanted to at the movie theater.
yeah,
In
multiplex.
August 26, 1984,
That's
the
when
multiplex.
that would have been, yep.
Multi-pass.
And you would have been listening to Possum Kingdom on the way to the theater.
Right. You would have been. You'd been like, Durner,
Exactly.
Burner. Or you might, if you would have been a little more refined in your taste, you'd have been like,
Tyler's more refined.
Because, like Eric pointed
Oh,
out,
that's right.
we're
Yeah,
wrong.
Exactly.
The right answer is Tyler.
Hey, Matt, do you think that
I didn't
Eric's
say
kind
you
of a-
guys were wrong. I just said that my answer
Do we need to go to the tape?
Yeah, no.
Do we need to go back to the
Oh, I might
go back to
have
the
said
recording?
that.
Yes,
Okay.
you're wrong.
I'll give you that. Because
All right.
you're wrong. The other movies
Yeah,
at the
let's hear it.
multiplex might have been number 10, The Client, starring
Tommy Lee Jones,
And-
Susan Sarandon,
and
Brad
Renfro.
Brad Renfro.
who is no
R.I.P. R.I.P.
Who is no longer with
The
us.
Client, that was the third John Grisham joint after The Pelican Brief and The Firm.
Do we call them John Grisham joints
Yes, we
like
do.
Spike Lee? Like,
Yeah,
Yes, we do.
I do.
Yes.
all right.
That was, I believe, what's his bucket? Batman Forever.
Yeah, Joel Schumacher.
And then
His first of
who
two.
made Pelican
'cause-
Brief?
I don't know if we ever
Do we need to look it up?
I know that Barry Levinson made The Firm.
Yes.
Yep. And Schumacher did A Time to Kill. Is that what the movie's called?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yes,
My
Schumacher did Time to
first
Kill.
date with Anna Stubitz.
The Pelican
I
Brief.
probably shouldn't use her last name.
Yeah, it's okay.
The Pelican Brief was Alan J. Pakula.
Oh yeah, he's a throwback from the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9, Camp Nowhere.
Ben Stiller, right?
Crickets.
No, that was
No, you're
was Heavyweights.
You're right. Yeah.
Number 8, The Lion King.
What?
And it's how many weeks now? Like we're talking like
11 weeks.
11
the 11th weekend, yeah.
that movie's huge.
Number 7, True Lies.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Number 7, starring Bruce Willis, Color of Night.
Oh yeah, that is. His Willis is in that.
Number 5, Corina, starring Whoopi Goldberg
Ray Liotta.
and Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Is that how you remember him?
Number
Henry Hill.
4,
He's Henry Hill.
Somebody Stop Me.
Oh
Mask.
yeah, that's got to be. Yeah, it's a mask.
I was like, right? Isn't that an Ace
Yeah.
Ventura? Yeah.
Number 3, Clear and Present Danger, starring Jack Ryan himself,
Han Solo.
Harrison Ford.
Oh, it'll always be Han Solo to me.
Number 2, Mama always used to say, in your 8th weekend at the box office, you never know what you gonna get.
I don't remember that quote.
Forrest Gump.
Oh.
And number 1 at the box office with a bullet, whoopsh, Natural Born Killers.
Oh wow, that is what the bullet.
Debuted at number 1. Huh?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Welcome back to the Southwest America.
Matt, Natural Born Killers is a movie, kind of a critique on how the media glorifies. You're right. Thank you. The violence.
You're right, Gary. It's kind of that.
It is, and
It's not just that.
Hey, Eric, whose either or is this? All right.
All right.
So, either it is able to have its cake and eat it too by being a movie that criticizes that, or it fails.
What would be the eat it too portion of
You're
that?
right. That it because it's able to have that violence. Go on. I don't want to interrupt.
No.
you.
Go ahead. You finish what you're saying.
I'm saying it's going to critique the media about, look how the media glorifies violence.
Mm-hmm.
But here at the same time, we are glorifying these villains and this violence in this movie.
I feel like you're leading me down the primrose path here, Ed Rooney.
Right.
But...
which is nice.
That's an 80s reference, not a 90s reference.
Yeah, but Edie McClure's in our Natural Born Killers. He's a real righteous dude.
You shouldn't be throwing anyone with your bad leg. In any case, I will say it does not have its cake and eat it too, and it only critiques. It does not entertain with the same violence it portends to critique. I would think that this movie could easily be super entertaining violently and critiquing that same glorification of violence, but I'd be talking about True Romance, or I'd be talking about Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
I don't think the violence in this movie is very entertaining. I think that the things that are entertaining about this movie are the filmmaking, the editing, and the cinematography, including the lighting, and the switching between filmmaking techniques. I never, at any time in the movie, am thrilled or excited by violence. Whether or not that's a good thing, I leave it to you. I think that the violence in the film is almost always either boring or horrific. So I would not say I have a lot of critiques about this movie, and
but
you can hear some of them.
Yeah,
but none of them are the violence is exciting and entertaining. I would at least give it that it doesn't do that. I think the violence is gross or boring. So that's something.
Okay. Matt, do you have anything that you want to say regarding Natural Born Killers?
Or you could answer the same either or.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's I think it's a hard question to answer as far as an either or. But I'll say
I
this.
did it.
So
hey, yeah, come on.
Rewind the tape, yo. I just done answered that.
You got 95 episodes of this podcast under your belt. That's just on his third.
All right. As an educator, and specifically as a person who teaches a media literacy class, that is one of my class class in my course load. I'll say this. It's this movie
Media
to
Literacy 101, aka
well, first of all,
stupid bitch.
There's certainly something to be said about the idea that he used this film as a way to critique mass media, and I think whether that is successful or not is up for debate. But I'll say this: I see this movie a little bit like when I read Catcher in the Rye. Okay. I saw this movie the first time shortly after it came out in theaters. I was 16 years old, and I was like, this movie is fantastic, and blah, blah, blah. But, of course, we're all caught up in that Quentin Tarantino-esque stuff. I mean, because I actually saw it before I saw Pulp Fiction. But at the same time, that was kind of an entry point, because I had seen Reservoir Dogs.
Theoretically, you could have seen Reservoir Dogs and True Romance before you saw this, right? Mm-hmm. For the youth
this was my
for the youth.
Yeah,
right.
The youngsters.
This was my
Reservoir
entry
Dogs
point.
is written and directed by QT. This and True Romance were sold to the man.
Yeah.
And produced by the man in the form of Tony Scott and Oliver Stone by big studios, sort of parasiting off of the young man's talent.
And I don't know. I think we should throw in researching it this time around. I don't think I realized that Natural Born Killers was almost a complete rewrite. I mean,
it was almost like
Tarantino only got
based
story,
on an idea.
He only got story credit on this. But here was my point: is that. So I see it whenever I'm young, and I thought this is fantastic. from that lens, I don't look at it as a critique on mass media because what at that point I was just like, look at Woody Harrelson and look at Juliette Lewis.
Look how cool
and look at how neat this movie looks. Like you said, the actual structure of making the movie.
Particularly Drug Zone. That's the best scene in the movie.
Oh,
all the green fluorescent lights.
Okay, yeah. So
that's the best scene.
Then you get a little bit older. So like same thing happened whenever I read Catcher in the Rye. Holden Caulfield is 17 years old. I'm like, oh, he's the greatest character ever.
He smokes cigarettes.
I said, right, exactly. He
doesn't like grown-ups.
Right, exactly.
He's feeling what I
Holden
feel.
Caulfield is me, right? Well, then you see it again. Like I read that, and then I read it when I was 16. Then I read it when I was 32, and I'm like, okay, Holden Caulfield's like, this kid's kind of a punk.
He needs to grow up.
Still a good book, but once again, Holden Caulfield's kind of a punk. Well, I saw Natural Born Killers some years later, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, still good. And now I can actually look at it from the idea of critiquing mass media. So then this past week, I went and saw it again. Or I didn't go into I watched it on my television at home, but I saw it again, and I'm like, and ultimately what I came up with was I was bored.
Yeah,
I was bored, but then
particularly through the last hour.
But I was just
holy God.
Yes,
it goes on for abs.
But then I'm questioning why am I bored? Am I bored because one, it wasn't a successful critique of mass media,
for
or
the
two,
listener at home, Matt was making air quotes with his fingers.
Sorry,
yeah, he was.
Or two, is it because of the fact that I'm just desensitized to that level of violence? You know what I mean? And I just like, man,
it ain't that violent.
No.
The movie is not that violent at all.
No.
Like, I went back to it being like, oh, this movie was NC-17 for violence. And I watched
from Ireland.
I watched the director's cut, which was the NC-17 this time around.
Right,
I did,
yeah,
which
did
is
you watch
3
it?
minutes longer.
Yeah, same here. 4 minutes, 5 minutes longer?
I bet 4 or 5 minutes longer.
Yeah.
I bet you guys could not tell the difference between the two. It's not that. Does your cut have a headless dude in an armchair?
Jones. Yeah, there is the headless dude in the armchair
that stands up.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have a Tommy Lee Jones head on a pike?
No, that was
had
cut
that.
out. Yeah,
it would just look phony. I don't think that either movie is very violent. Actually, I mean, there's a lot of violent acts, but it's not gory, really.
Well, no, it's not gory. You're right. I think what this movie has definitely a problem is that it's so much more flash over substance, style over substance. This is the epitome of that. It's like,
yeah. But the style is pretty awesome at times. I mean, I feel like... Okay, let's talk about what we like first. It's so easy to pick on this movie. I like the Nine Inch Nails. I like the Leonard Cohen. I like...
not Drugstore Cowboy. What's that band? The Canadian band?
Sweet Jane. Cowboy Junkies.
Cowboy Junkies, yeah.
Sweet Jane.
Yeah.
I felt like Woody Harrelson is doing his best.
Yeah, he's charismatic, you're right.
Up to that point.
Particularly in the... I give him a lot of credit for the Super Bowl interview sequence. I think he's really good in that scene. And I like what they do with, stylistically, some of the times where they set up an environment that's really obviously expressionistic. I mean, I'm just talking about Drug Zone with all the green fluorescence, and they have in the checkout line, in the checkout lanes, they have things that say barbiturates help you rest.
Exactly. Yes. And which is funny because I didn't even really register that when the first couple of times that I watched it. And now you look at that, and I'm like,
register.
I actually paused it. I was like, what does it say right there?
And there's the skeletons at the end of each aisle, like it's Halloween or something.
Yes.
That's cool. And I do think that they're just like, let's do some weird crap with this movie. And some of that comes across,
but
right?
the new question is it that, or is it just that they're trying, once again, he's trying to tell it from their perspective, so everything with them just being bit by rattlesnakes, does it have a green
tint
no,
to it,
the green tint comes back again. Because
there's a lot of green fluorescence.
Oh, yeah, okay, well, yeah. I mean, but
there's heavy fluorescent stuff going on in a lot of different places. But in that scene, it's the most green.
Yeah.
It's not easy being green.
Yeah.
That's I've heard.
That is what I've heard.
Yeah, so
4 stars. Frogger.
Yeah.
But in any case, style. I would say the person who made this and the cinematographer who made this, editor who made this, wow, look at this amazing thing you did, except for there's a little movie called JFK that came out a few years before this that also did the whole Super 8 to 35 to 70 to all these different things and then back and forth.
So Oliver Stone, who directed Natural Born Killer, directed JFK.
Wait for it.
Yes, and I think he used the same cinematographer.
It's sort of a I don't know, a drunk JFK.
Yeah,
I don't know. JFK on shrooms.
U-turn also,
and U-turn is like Natural Born Killers that nobody wants to watch.
Yeah, it was. It was bad. I haven't seen it since it first came out, but I remember like not liking it. Then.
Yikes!
So
woof.
It was rough.
Cacao.
But once again, that's you're right. It's like it's Natural Born Killers for people who don't want to see Natural Born Killers.
Right. So when this came out, it definitely hit the zeitgeist.
Yeah, number one at the box office.
People wanted to see it. It was controversial. A lot of people bought the soundtrack.
Is huge amongst our age group.
It's a much better use of Juliette Lewis than From Dusk Till Dawn.
That's true. Yes.
Although I'm still very confused by the way that Juliette Lewis is seen in the 90s. Because you've got Strange Days and Cape Fear and this and From Dusk Till Dawn. And it's like, have you ever met anyone who thought that she was attractive in real life?
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
Matt?
I don't know. I mean,
are you attracted to Juliette
That's
Lewis?
okay. This is
yes
a safe
and no.
space.
I mean,
okay. So
sort of.
1/2 out of 3. I feel like all the movies she's in behave like she's the most attractive woman ever.
The ones that we've, yeah.
It's very confusing to me. Very, very confusing.
I don't know if I like that. I'm disturbed by it.
It's like, okay, movie.
But it's like, but I see what you're saying. Like the movie is trying to tell you, Juliette Lewis is hot.
And
right?
I see
and you're
her
like,
and
I don't know.
You're like, she's so hot that she might kill you, but you still would go into that cell with
you're
her.
Gonna try
and I would be like, no, movie.
Yeah.
I sure would not.
No, thank you. Nope.
Yeah. So, anything else we liked a lot? I really like Tommy Lee Jones' performance in this movie. The funny thing is that he was in a Batman movie 2 years later, or 1 year later. 1 year later. He was Two-Face in Batman Forever. But I feel like he's giving a Joker-level performance in this movie. He's spitting over everybody.
Yeah.
His hair's crazy.
Yep.
The one guy comes up to him and he's like, blah, 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 and he says, so-and-so, and he's like, that's not my name. And he's like, I don't care what your effing name is! Like, and he's like spitting all over him and everything. Like, I felt like he was giving that Heath Ledger level Joker performance in this. Like, not in quality, but in quantity.
I was about to say, if the listeners at home could see my face here, I'd be
like, there was a lot of skepticism.
Yeah.
Well, there's not a lot of nuance.
Right.
But
that's the thing. Yeah.
He goes to 11 and he doesn't stop. And I feel like
he's definitely going up. You know, he's going over the top, and his over the top's more enjoyable than, say, Robert Downey Jr.'s over the top.
I disagree. I think Robert Downey Jr. gives a great performance in this movie. He is disgusting media dude Australian accent.
I think that wasn't working for me, and that may have to do with where he is now in his career and what I've seen him in. But then going back, it's like,
do you not like his performance?
That's the problem overall with this movie is that it's looking at it now,
it didn't age well.
It doesn't age well because now you're looking at it back, and
even
saying,
the ideas don't age well.
Right, not only the ideas, but the performances don't age well because then you have Robert Downey Jr., who is now Iron Man, and what he's done since then. Look at Woody Harrelson with things like True Detective.
I disagree with the RDJ comments. I think he's great in this, but go ahead.
But I mean, other actors who are in this movie that have
I was there when it went down in Grenada.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's good stuff. and the producer's like,
got it. Talking too much.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, after watching it again, I was bored. I was like,
pretty boring.
When's it over?
Okay.
I mean, but like I said, from a stylistic perspective, yes, it was good for its time, but that time has now passed.
Yeah,
and
it was that very of its time, in your face movie.
It's awfully
that had a really quick
end.
Expiration date.
Yeah,
maybe
it's Oliver Stone really trying to say, all right, look, I can still be relevant even 8 years after I won the Oscar for Platoon.
Yeah,
and
only 8 years.
Yeah, it was 96 or 86, right? Was when he won.
But between then and now, it was like Wall Street and JFK and
right,
this
but he's
and the Doors,
and he did a good job of sort of appealing to a younger.
Yeah, but he did Heaven and Earth right before this.
A younger audience.
Yeah.
Born on the 4th of July is not a bad movie.
Yeah, was that after Platoon?
That's the
right after
Empire Strikes Back of the Vietnam trilogy.
Right.
It's,
Heaven and Earth was the third.
Heaven on Earth is the Ewoks one.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but did he or did he not win the Oscar for Born on the 4th of July? Didn't he?
Who?
Oliver Stone. I believe
he did not.
He won the Academy Award for Best Director for
Platoon.
For Platoon.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that movie has not aged that well
I haven't seen
either.
It, either.
I think Tom Berenger's performance is...
He didn't win the Oscar for Born on the 4th of July.
For Best Director?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
What
won Best Picture?
1991 was... or not 91, 89. Last Emperor, maybe? No, that was 87.
Your information is a little wonky here, Matt. Anyway. But if they could condense the last hour into a power half hour...
Yeah, it went on too long.
I think maybe it still holds up a little bit.
Nah, I don't know.
It's still a mess.
Yeah.
What I thought was, I kind of got it based on the first 20 minutes.
Well, exactly. I think that's it. Yeah.
Like, so the best thing in the movie and the most repulsive thing in the movie is the Rodney Dangerfield sitcom sequence with the incest jokes and everything and the laugh track and everything.
Right.
All of that, really, I don't really think I've ever seen anything quite that disturbing
original
anything else. And it's pretty original.
And that was the one thing that actually that still to this day still makes me just inside just kind of
makes your skin crawl. It's like I shouldn't be watching.
Should I be watching this? Yes, exactly.
And that works because it's so effective.
Yeah,
right.
And
it's very intelligent with the use of Rodney Dangerfield casting wise, and he says something that's just like straightforward abuse, and then the laugh track, and that really does basically set out the entire theme and point of the whole movie,
interspersed with close-ups of his eyes, which are intense.
And we get it, right?
Yeah,
we get television creates trash
we
culture, creates this media sensation around these bad people, and it creates a narrative of fighting against the man and all this stuff. We get it through that.
Yep.
And so 20, 25 minutes in, when they're getting married on the bridge, like, it could almost end when the veil floats over the river.
Yeah,
like,
I think it could. I think you could end it when they're arrested at the drugstore.
yeah, but that would still include Tom Sizemore's character, which I find to be other than the length of the film, the most problematic portion of the movie, because what is he trying to say with this murdering detective character?
Yeah. Why does he? Yeah.
What's
why
the
do
point?
we need him to murder?
Everyone's
that
trying to say
terrible.
I was about to say. So even the law is terrible.
Right. So the media's terrible. You're terrible. I'm terrible. The law is terrible. It gets to the point where it's like, okay, so it's just nihilism.
I mean, at least it's an ethos.
And if everyone's terrible,
Say what you will.
at least it's an ethos.
Yeah, exactly.
Say what you will about the tenets of European
national socialism.
but yeah, if everybody's terrible, including Tom Sizemore and the media and the warden and every cop, then Mickey is the good guy.
Right, but
and that's clearly not true, right?
I don't know. They get off and they ride off into the sunset at the end.
Yeah.
So,
but that to me is the weak link. Goodbye, because Tom Sizemore, it just doesn't fully develop for me. Okay, so he's this guy who wrote a book about himself, which is funny, Scagnetti on Scagnetti.
Yeah.
But the scene where he hires a prostitute and kills her just to see what it's like, that doesn't add to the theme.
Not
it
at
doesn't
all.
add to the movie. It's disturbing for no reason.
No, you're not Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
Man Rainer just watched him die.
Yeah.
Never mind. Bad.
It was okay.
Terrible.
We'll put some laugh tracks on it. Yeah.
So that's my problem. And then the other thing that I really had a problem with is that, did you guys watch the OJ documentary from last year, the really long one?
No.
Actually, I watched the first episode and then got distracted with doing something else and just like.
So
had the time to
O.J. Simpson Made in America follows O.J. from birth to now, and
like right now, like
right
from today.
No, wait, right
now.
Okay,
now. Yeah, okay.
And the thing that I think that film really hit home for me a little bit more than I had understood before was, why would anyone, protest outside the courthouse and say free OJ and OJ's innocent, et cetera, et cetera. And it has more to do with systemic racism within the court system and the police force
that makes sense.
than it does to do with celebrity. It has to do with black people have been unfairly prosecuted and treated poorly by the police for so long that it becomes a totem. And so for this movie to sort of compartmentalize that and then at the end show OJ as just another famous person on trial, I feel like it fundamentally understands what was going on with OJ. I mean, obviously it was a famous person, but it wasn't just, oh, this guy's famous for killing people. Like,
yeah,
that's a much more complicated situation, and it was right when that was happening, so I feel like they were just sort of trying to grab on the coattails.
Well, this is also, I mean, then we're talking about, like, you think about the idea of, excuse me, of what are you famous for? Like, this is something I talk to my students about. Like, okay, so what is this person famous for? Mm-hmm. Like I asked, I posed the question of, it's funny, I said I posed the question of the Kardashians. I'm like, what are they famous for? Mm-hmm. And nobody could answer the question. Like, nobody could say, like, they're famous for being the children of a famous person, but that's it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like, O.J. Simpson was famous before, was arguably the best known football player in the world,
right?
Especially at one point. But and then he had once had a film career and things like that. But he was an actor. I don't think he had a film career. But
there's an episode about that, all about his career in advertising as a person who was in commercials on TV,
right?
And the fact that he was a black athlete that got commercials. That was a thing. That was a thing that he was like famous for that no other black athlete had done. It was a white American thing to be on a Hertz commercial, and OJ was allowed to do that. And so the fact that he broke that color barrier made him something more than himself in a lot of ways. Right. So then he was an icon.
Much bigger than the sum of his parts, yeah.
Yeah, in addition to being a person.
So, I mean, but that's the idea is that, I mean, if you want to talk about the idea of nihilism, just part because we did.
All you want to talk
because we did say something about that, but the idea of, like, what are Mickey and Mallory famous for? They're really, when it all comes down to it, they're famous for nothing. They didn't do anything that would warrant them being... they certainly did things that would warrant them being vilified by the media, but they're not. They're glorified by the media.
Well, because the media can make a buck off them, right? And it's almost like horrifying to think about a weird future where even a political candidate could be famous for just destroying things, and then the media could make millions of dollars off of glorifying a political candidate that gets famous for just destroying the status quo, even though said political candidate has nothing to offer anyone except for empty fame. And
you're being a little too subtle.
Oh,
okay.
I mean, seriously, the only people that have ever defended Donald Trump to me have said, well, we got to get rid of the status quo. He's got to smash it all up. Stick it to the man.
He's the man now.
But at the same time that people were buying that horse crap,
yeah,
the man was making millions, if not billions, off of his ascension, right? So, in a way, I feel like Oliver Stone missed the mark by making it about serial killers. He could have combined his Nixon, JFK, etc., to a political...
I think that was Bulworth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you talk about
and I'm a rapping senator, and I'm here to say my name is Warren Beatty, and I made your way. Bulworth.
Bulworth. That's a 90s movie. But no, I mean, also, I mean, you could almost make the argument that he could have made, a critique on mass media or a critique on politics / mass media as a trilogy type of thing. You know what I mean? Like he did with the Vietnam War. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, we can go for hours talking about like whether or not this was, what.
I don't think it's very smart. Though, I think he has an idea.
It's a boring movie.
It's a boring movie.
It's a boring movie. Now.
And it has one idea.
Yeah, exactly. And it just keeps hitting
Woody
that idea.
Harrelson does everything he can, but it's still... But I don't know. I mean, maybe the movie knows that it's empty. Because at the end, he says, killing you is a statement. I'm not exactly sure what the statement means.
Yeah.
So there's points like that where I'm like, this is pretty smart. But then other times I'm like, this is so boring and stupid. They both have shotguns pointed at Robert Downey Jr. and he's going, cut, 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 cut.
Yeah.
Because he can't tell the difference between his stupid media reality and real reality.
Yeah,
Which I do still think his character is one of the more interesting parts because he almost can't get... he gets so wrapped up in the thrill of the ratings and being a part of this big thing that he has like zero moral compass to the point where he's literally an accomplice to murder. several times.
I think he's even killed. He was shot.
He kills some people, right? But before that, he's an accomplice to murder. Where he's like, wait, don't shoot, you know,
right.
But I still think you edit that later sequence down to be more focused on him and a little less.
Well, and I think that was right.
That was Tarantino's intent.
Original.
Was that his intent with the story was it was going to be mostly focused on Wayne Gale than it was on Mickey and Mallory.
Yeah,
and
that would be better.
Oliver Stone went, okay, thank you for this. Now I'm going to go ahead and kind of.
Well, I feel like they're just, you know, and the movie knows this. They're just, you know, mating animals. They're just blunt force trauma.
Yeah.
There's nothing very interesting there. I will just hang a lamppost on the fact that this is another Pruitt Taylor Vince movie.
Oh yeah, he's huge on my so-called podcast.
This is the Pruitt Taylor Vince cast.
He played one of the prison guards. Yeah. It was actually like when I noticed him, I was like he's lean.
Yeah,
you know.
I think he had more parts in your director's cut. He may have had an extra scene.
He had some dialogue.
Because it was the other guy that kept squawking the whole time during.
And then the other thing that I thought that worked pretty well for me was this is early use of morph technology, but they only use it a couple times, and it's like a drug thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where his face morphs around.
Yeah,
and it's just on one word.
So that was when he was talking in the Super Bowl interview.
Earlier, when he was eating the mushrooms, he did it too. When he and Juliette Lewis.
I thought my first thought was whenever I saw that was, oh my gosh, Terry Gilliam stole from Oliver Stone. You know,
a little bit,
from Fear and Loathing. You know,
but I do think that he does a fairly nice job of being a little subtle about that. You would think that the drug scene could go on forever in this movie, and it is not that long. But it's like, you know, people complain about magical black people in movies from the 90s and 80s. This is the magical Indian sequence, where all of a sudden the Indians are going to make everything better, except that he shoots them and the rattlesnakes, etc., etc. That part of the movie is stupid.
Yep. Yeah.
That's some dumb part.
Right.
And I think the part where she leaves him because he's attracted to the hostage in the hotel room.
And then the Balthazar Getty,
but she shoots him for giving her bad, etc. and all of that. I think that's stupid too. Yep. I'm starting to cut away at the whole movie.
Yeah,
being stupid at this point, like it's got some ingredients of goodness.
Like I said, you could put it, you could make it almost. You could make it a short film. It could be,
it would be interesting.
Yeah.
I just think stretching it to feature length is like it's hard to stay awake.
I remember
that's a lot of people getting shot for hard to stay awake.
I watched this back when it came out in the 90s. I hadn't seen it since. And I remember liking it, but yeah, this time it's like, well, I'm glad I didn't watch it since. So.
Yeah.
Because it was, it just didn't sit right this time.
Gary.
Yeah, Eric.
Matt. We have a rating system.
Okay.
4 stars would be The Killer. Chow Yun Fat.
Oh, Chow Yun Fat.
The Chow Yun Fat Killer. Okay.
Yeah.
3 stars would be Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. Okay. It's a Russ Meyer joint.
Russ Meyer.
2 stars would be The Killing Fields. That's a serious 80s movie.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Was that a bad movie, though?
And 1 star would be Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Okay.
How many stars would you give Natural Born Killers, Matt?
I'm going to go... I'm wavering between... I say 2. 2 stars.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
16-year-old Matt would say 3.
A bajillion stars.
16-year-old Matt would say 3. It's not exactly like the world's greatest movie, but 2.
I think I would go with 2 also with an asterisk because, as Eric said, there are interesting things from a film standpoint. Like, if you're into the art of cinema, you would...
And I am.
Yeah. definitely see it.
Right medium, wrong message.
Yeah, exactly. If one of your things that you're interested in is about story and plot, if like, well, maybe don't
or theme. Or
yeah, exactly.
Smartness.
But there's other editing. You know what? If you're an editing buff, go see Natural Born Killers. I'm gonna give it 2 stars.
Yeah, I think 2 stars is where we're at with this.
Who are you, Beck?
I've got 2 stars for this movie and a microphone.
Where we're at, 2 stars.
Yeah, I mean, that's a thing that's true.
Yeah.
Is that this movie has not aged well.
No.
But it is very 90s.
Yeah, it's the 90s.
It's just a 90s.
This is why we're here.
Yeah,
that's why
that's why we're here.
Well, you know what?
Hey, thanks for being on the podcast, Matt.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Are you on the social medias?
I am at Holborow, HOLBOROW.
Yeah, follow him.
I'm at the Eric Spiegel. Gary over there is at Gary Linton.
Nope, just Gary Linton.
At my so-called pod.
Yep. You can email us at mysocalledpodcast@gmail.com. Drop us a line.
You can go into Apple Podcast, give us a review, give us some stars, whatnot.
Subscribe.
Send us an email about where you might like to go next in the 90s.
Yeah.
What pairing do you think would be best for us to go to next? We thank you for your listening and your kind attention.
Thanks.
Bye.